the majority that struggle with that definition of masculinity and being open, being vulnerable. Why do you think we are struggling with that so much?
Who's our role models? Our fathers, a lot of the time, don't even know themselves. Masculinity doesn't mean, I've got big muscles, go and build a shed and I can do the barbecue, I can do this, I can do that, I'll put out the rubbish. That's not masculinity. Positive male role models. Everybody needs that dad who was their role model. Men from, young men, adolescents, to men in their 60s who are mistreated, who now treat their children badly because they were never shown what a good dad is. The only thing you owe something to are your kids. You bring children to this world, you better be a good parent. If the father doesn't achieve what he wants to, he'll force a child to live out his dreams. Now you're like, I couldn't do it, but I'll make you do it. It's easier to get someone else to do it. It's easy to cane or beat a child to do the thing that you couldn't do yourself.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Just a quick note from me to say thank you so much for choosing to tune in to watch today's episode. I've checked the stats recently and I was blown away to see that 93.6% of you who choose to tune in and watch these videos aren't already subscribed to the channel. Now, if you're watching these videos because you're looking to level up in your life and make positive changes, it starts by changing your environment and what you consume. So make sure that you're subscribed to this channel so that you're consuming some incredible, inspirational, and empowering content and stories that will help you make positive changes in your life. Enjoy today's episode and stay visionary.
My guest today is the founder of the Dad Project, a project focused on breaking the stereotypes around men's mental health and breaking the stigmas around fatherhood. He also runs a marketing agency called Back the Brave, which works with some of the world's biggest brands. Naroop, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me, man.
Good to have you on. I'm excited about today's conversation. Let's start with, for the person that's tuning into today's episode, what would you say that they can expect to gain from listening to this conversation?
I always try to leave people feeling positive and motivated and encouraged. That's something I always want to do, whether it's on a podcast, in person, whether I'm on stage. But I think when people hear my story and hear about what I'm doing, I think they will realize that anything that they want in life is possible, right? And that they are where they need to be in life at that very moment, right? So many of us question, what am I doing? Why am I here? I wish I could have changed this. But when you actually look at your life and you see where you are, you realize that everything had to happen for a reason. And I think there's great power in understanding that my life is unfolding the way it's meant to unfold, right? Now, whether or not and where your life goes in the future is up to you. Okay. I believe that the universe and the world constantly shows us signs and gives us opportunities to make different choices.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we take those choices or not is up to us. So I think listening to my story and the work that I'm doing will give people the confidence that anything is possible.
I love that. Okay, so
bit of a tongue twister.
a little bit, but we got through it. It's okay. So there's something that you said there which is super interesting because I get it, but it also sounds conflicting, right? Which is the universe kind of, the ideology that you just presented is that the universe is always unfolding in the way that it's meant to.
Yeah.
Right? At the same time, we have freedom of choice, and in most cases, multiple choices, or like a road split into two of where we can choose whether we're going to go down road A or road B.
Yeah.
How does the universe unfolding exactly how it's meant to coincide with the fact that we're going to make choices that we are free to make a supposed decision on? And how does that coincide for you? Because it sounds like it's two opposing schools of thought, or are those thoughts like predetermined and we feel like we're making those choices consciously, but we're not really?
So I can go quite deep on this, or I can keep it quite surface.
We're going to go deep. Okay, we have to go deep.
Through my life experiences, I believe in us all is a soul.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We talk about a soul, and some people say, "Oh, my soul feels this," or "We are souls," and no one really truly knows what it is. And even I don't. I have a theory on it based upon friends that I've spoken to are far more educated on it than I am, and research that I've done. But I always believe that our soul is trying to get to a place. All right, it's trying to, let's say, it's a mountaintop. We're trying to get to a mountaintop, and sometimes there'll be signs, there'll be opportunities that are given to us or presented to us, and we don't take it. So you have a little detour, but then you hit another place, and then you're given more signs. Always trying to get, your soul is always trying to get to this top of this mountain to reach your higher self. You are always now meant to be at the other place where the universe will show you another sign. No, please take this path, or you don't take this path, whatever. Whether you take those choices or not is up to you. And whether you then fulfill what your true potential is, again, is up to you. And if you don't, I believe that you'll come back and you will try again, and you'll try again, and you'll try again. So wherever you are, you're always meant to be at that place, because you're always learning from that place that you are in, right? It's always learning. You always become either stronger from it, or you may not become stronger from it. But whether people will make decisions, there is that free will. But if you haven't learned once, maybe you'll learn a second time, maybe you'll learn a third time, maybe you'll see the light the fourth time, the fifth time, maybe you'll never see the light. But I believe that you'll keep on going in cycles until you've actually fully realized your potential. That's my belief, because my life has had certain situations that have made me actually see that that is the truth. A lot of people don't agree with that, and I totally get that, and that's okay. But I think when you do real deep work on your self-awareness of who you are and your purpose, and not everyone has this extreme purpose to, change people's way of thinking or have massive global impact. They're not. Some people's soul journey is just to be a good parent, or a good owner of a dog, or whatever it could be. They're not extreme. They're not life-changing. But I think everyone does have a purpose. Whether they believe it or not is up to them.
What is one of the pivotal moments in your life that has helped solidify that concept for you?
There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch, but I
The
think
first one that comes to you.
the end of my marriage. I think that is the one that really made me look back and have this bird's eye view of my whole life and understand why everything happened in my life. That was a one moment where I would say it was like, when the meteorite hit the earth and all the dinosaurs got wiped out, right, and everything started again. That was my big impact moment in my life. And I looked back and everything was flat and everything had to regrow. And then as I was walking through this new world that was now growing for me, I was looking back at stuff and thought, wow, so what happened when I was young as a child made me go down this path? And then what happened to me when I came out of university and my father's business went bankrupt? That was another moment that changed direction. Then my brother signing to, a record label and becoming a world famous pop star, that changed my direction again. And then I grew and I evolved and I had 20 years of growth and still learning, not full development, just understanding. And then boom, the meteorite hit and boom, everything changed. And then I looked back at everything and realized I had to go through all this. And it's so hard to explain it. I have conversations with friends and cousins all the time who don't agree with how I view the world, but they also haven't had these moments where they've had to question their understanding, their values, and their beliefs. Because when you go through something which shatters how you saw the world for so long, everything that you believed in changes and you form new beliefs, not beliefs that are unreasonable or beliefs that are so hard to understand, but beliefs that make sense to you, to give you understanding as to why you were chosen to have this path, and make sense of it and be at peace with it.
That in itself is a really powerful reframe, right?
Yeah.
Just the way that you just phrased that, which is those things that happened that helped shape who you are, right? Because it's more of what's happening around me is not a negative or not someone's fault, but it's rather just an event that's helping to shape me. It's not something that's happening to me, it's something that's happening for me.
Yeah.
Okay. The way you've described the end of your marriage so vulnerably there was like that big impact moment, right?
Yeah.
How did you bring yourself back from that feeling of everything being shattered
Mm.
to picking yourself back up to recognizing that everything around you is flat, and from that moment you had to rebuild?
So this will actually explain why I believe that everything happens in our life for a reason, right? So my dad, from a very young age, had instilled in me this belief that anything was possible, right? That be a dreamer, Naroop. You can achieve anything you want in life, right? He had encouraged me to read positive mental attitude books. He had done businesses within which some of the education was around positive thinking, mindset development, etc., etc. So I was exposed to education from a very young age. I didn't know why. I know my dad was doing these businesses, but I just used to read them. I used to love them because I used to love learning about entrepreneurship, success, positivity. I used to listen to Napoleon Hill tapes. I used to listen to other, old public speakers. I used to listen to it on the way to my studio when I had a film and photography studio every day. It used to last the 30 minutes of that journey perfectly, right? And it was about how your mind can achieve everything as long as you believe and reaffirm. And so I think the world and the universe was preparing me for an event. All right. It was almost like in Rocky, where you're training for a fight, the montage, but over a long period of time. So that when the moment came that I had to now put all this knowledge and wisdom in action, I was ready for it. I wasn't in a weakened state. Internally, I was strong. And what reaffirmed that for me was when I went down traditional routes of trying to find help, right? Therapy. The therapist I had wasn't very good. Other avenues, none of them hit. I always sat there thinking, I think I know better inside. I think I've got this already, right? Yes, there was pain. Yeah, there was doubt. Yeah, there was moments of wanting to give up, but something inside used to whisper, "You got it, man. Keep going." And I had instilled such a high sense of self-worth and self-belief that nothing could ever knock me down, right? And I always saw myself as being someone who was destined for greatness, that I felt, and I said to myself, this is not going to knock me off. This is not going to break me down. I'm going to come out stronger and better through this. I actually said that to myself the night I knew that everything was over. I lay in bed and I said to myself, this moment will not define who I am. And I want people to understand and see and say, wow, Naroop has come out of this stronger than he ever was before. And that's exactly what's happened. I am a completely different man from before. But this had to happen to me for me to see that, right? Is the catalyst and the rebirth of the man that you see in front of you now.
I'm glad you just finished on that point, because the other part of what you said earlier that I want to go back to is the two pivotal moments you had when you were growing up that you mentioned include two significant men in your life,
Yep.
which were your dad and your brother.
Yep.
So there was your brother's kind of skyrocket success,
Yep.
and your dad's difficult circumstance with the business.
Yep.
How did those two events, obviously they weren't at the same time, but how did those two events, your dad's business first and then your brother's success second, affect and impact you specifically to instill more of that mindset that helped you rebuild yourself?
Well, my dad had a multi-million-pound clothing company, right? We had 5 factories in India, we had 1 here, and I had seen the growth of this company from a very young age, right? I used to go to the factory in the summer holidays, help them. We used to make denim wear for all the high street brands. And my mum used to work in there. My aunt used to work in there. It was a family business.
Pure family
Yeah,
business.
my mum's dad started the company from their kitchen to this multi-million-pound company. So I always knew I wanted to work with my dad. I was like, Dad, I'm going to work with you. He was like, cool. Even though I went to private school from primary school, I was always going to work with Dad, right? When it was careers day at school, oh, don't worry, I'm going to work with Dad. Did business at university, even though I always knew I had a creative mind. I used to say to my dad, look, maybe I can run the design department, right? He goes, no, you got to take over my role. I was like, okay, cool. We've got the head designers, right? So then when I started working with him, out of uni got a 2-1. Now, yes, I'm going to work with Dad. Right? I'm so excited, right? Started going to the factory, learning the ropes. There was no Google, nothing then. I remember I used to have to go into Ask Jeeves. That's the only search engine. It was There was I didn't have an email address, right?
Mm.
There was still faxes coming in for all the orders. I was learning the ropes. I was so excited. But then a few business decisions meant that the company ended up going bankrupt within a year. So the year that I worked with him, I saw the fall of his empire. I saw orders drying up. I saw my dad having very difficult conversations with clients and really feeling hurt at how he was spoken to because he was trying to save a business that was dying.
Mm.
And eventually went and started doing market stalls for my parents selling stock. So I've come out of private education, went to one of the best schools in the country, got to one of the best universities, and now I'm stood next to the guy selling hamburgers in Hayes Market in West London. I'm thinking, I didn't even need an education for this. And at the same time, my brothers get signed to Virgin Records and literally is flying around the world selling out shows, right? So seeing my dad's company fall didn't turn me away from business. It only gave me more desire to create my own path and really think, what do I want to do? Did I really want to be the owner of a clothing company, or what is really inside me that I'm really driven to do? So that, I guess, shifted my path in my life, that you're not meant to run a clothing company. You're meant to do something else, Naroop. That's not your path. So it never stopped me doing business. It shifted the path I went down, right? My brother being signed to a record label was really interesting because my confidence was really low because I had always had an eye condition from a young age and I was bullied. And so I had a real issue looking at people in the eye, right? And even though I had a girlfriend, I didn't know whether women really found me attractive or not because of, did they think I looked like a weirdo? I used to get teased. And so I could never look at people confidently and hold eye contact for a long time.
Interesting.
Right. I found it difficult. Right. They would look at my eyes or they'd look at me thinking, is he looking at me or somebody else? And I struggled.
Yeah.
Right. So seeing my brother become really famous and seeing him being adored, I used to also take him to his gigs as a tour manager. Right. Because that's how I'd make money early on. I used to get paid cash to do it. Right. So I used to stand on the decks or on the side of the stage and just seeing everybody scream his name. And I didn't have the confidence to even look at people. Even when it was meet and greets or there were fans come and meet him, I would just shy away. Right.
That's so interesting.
Right. So there was a reflection of this is where he is, but look where you are. So what that did, and I was never jealous, and I've openly spoken to my brother, and I've been on podcasts and spoken about this before. What it did is to force me to come out of my shell instead of retreating and feeling sorry for myself and feeling like, oh yeah, do you know what, to stay where you are. It's like, no, this is what you can be, right? And it didn't come automatically. It took me 15, 20 years to build up. And the only way my confidence got built was through experiences. So I would try to push myself. So where I would retreat, I would now take a step forward in that direction.
Yeah.
Oh, that went well. They didn't say what I thought they would say. They were cool with me. Okay, let's take another step forward. So that confidence didn't just come like this. It was earned through experiences. But what also my brother also helped me see was what success can bring you in life. And that I leaned into heavily, that I want a taste of that. People talk about wealth and success and the freedom that comes with it, but they don't know what it feels like. They don't experience it. They can put it up on vision boards, or they can go outside a Prada shop and look at clothes, or they can go into Harrods or go to Ritz, but they don't live it. I've lived it with him. I go to his place in America. I've sat in his Lambo and his Range and all his stuff. I've seen him spend. I've gone to the best restaurants. I've flown business class and first class with him when I've gone with him to gigs. I've stayed in the best hotels. I've lived it. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I want that. And that's not my sole driver. Really isn't. But it's nice to know what success brings if you want those things. And it's not how I necessarily would say, okay, I want all those things and I'll be happy. But it's nice to know what it feels like.
What you mentioned there about seeing the disparity between what that adoration looks like from a distance and then internally feeling like that's not me, that's not where my comfort lies. What, for the person listening to this today that might be feeling that level of uncertainty about themselves or that lack of confidence about themselves, what would you say to that person to help them start getting those experiences that obviously you had over a long period of
Yeah.
time, that could help them to start build their own confidence up to get out of that shell?
It's small steps, right? It's little things. So I think that one of the biggest skills people should develop are people skills. It's talking, is learning to communicate, right? So you should note down maybe what are the things that you would maybe shy away from. What scares you, right? What are the things that I really find difficult? Don't tackle all of them at once, but break those fears down into smaller sections. Okay, I don't like being in places where I don't know anyone. Okay, so why don't you start going to smaller group environments where there's 4 or 5 people? Start making friends, start socializing in smaller groups. Maybe when you go to Tesco's or you go somewhere, start saying hello to the cashier. Start striking up a conversation where you wouldn't normally do it. Is the little wins daily that build confidence, right? So you have to really break it down, and it depends what it is for certain people. Mine was meeting new people, holding eye contact, talking to people. It was like I found it very difficult. I felt very nervous, and I only realized much later in life that I was always meant to shine. I was always meant to be the one who was meant to be seen. It was my destiny to speak and share my knowledge, but I had to go through the experiences, feel it, really understand it. So when I help someone else do it, I'm talking about it through lived experience. I understand what that person's going through. But I did all that by breaking it down slowly, slowly, every day, a little win, a little win, a little win. And it's amazing, like they say, how those little things build up and accumulate into something massive. What people tend to do sometimes is throw themselves into the deep end and they drown. And if they've drowned, they never want to go back in again. And that's not what you can do. Little step, put some armbands on, slowly, slowly, but do it daily. Consistency, consistency, consistency. But first you have to understand what your greatest fear is. What are you trying to deal with? For some people, it could be driving.
Yeah.
They're scared of driving, right? Or whatever it could be. Break it down.
Super interesting. It's that consistency of those small wins that gives you real life and real world feedback
Yeah.
to show that actually you can do that thing.
Yeah.
So whether it's like going to speak to someone at a coffee shop or striking up a conversation in a queue whilst you're
Yep.
waiting for something, whatever it might
Yep.
be, just noticing that you feel uncomfortable
Yep.
and doing it anyway.
Yep. Yep.
Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're probably never going to see that person again, or the next big opportunity that you create for yourself is just as likely to exist as a result of that conversation, which
Yep.
I've experienced a ton of times.
Yeah.
So super interesting. The thing about signs, you've mentioned this a few times, like the universe is always giving you signs in terms of this is the direction that you should be going in, or like, maybe start working towards something. How does someone become in tune with being able to spot what those signs are like and where those signs are coming from?
It's self-awareness, right? And I'm really big on self-awareness. I find it shocking how so few people actually know who they really are, right? If someone was to ask me, Naroop, what are you really good at? And what do you really want to do? It is exactly what I'm doing right now in my life. Exactly. There's nothing else I could or should be doing apart from what I'm doing right now. I like to help people. I like doing public speaking. I like making content. I like to travel. Everything that I'm doing right now in my life is based on my greatest skills. A lot of people don't take enough time to sit with themselves, right? They live in noise. Okay, so they want to either be fed content, they sit there and let other people tell them who they are and what they're doing, and they just sit there and they just enjoy it. Oh, he's done that. Oh, he's doing that. Oh, this guy's built this channel based on cars. Look how lucky he is. Put the phone down, turn the TV off, and talk to yourself. What do I actually like to do? Right? Is a really good test is to ask people, your friends, if you could do anything in life, what would it be? The amount of people who don't even think big, they just think, oh, well, I'd like to be a manager maybe in my company. That'd be like, think big, right? So when you want to try to understand and see signs and purpose is to sit down and study yourself, right? And I always use the example of get a piece of paper and write down everything that you're interested in. right? Everything that makes your heart beat, that you feel alive, that when you hear the word, your soul goes, I'd love to do that. Whatever it is, as crazy as it might be, then write down what your greatest strengths are. What am I really good at doing that people always say, you're so good at that. You're natural at that. How do you do that? Like, it's so natural. Make a list of them, right? And then also you can make a list of things that you don't enjoy doing, because then you can, say, I don't want anything to do with that. That really gives me the ick. That doesn't feel right for me. And when you've got it mapped out in front of you, you can start to understand that I'm naturally drawn to these things. So why am I doing that over there? A lot of what I'm doing is in my dislikes column. I should be in the likes column. So how do I now create a life that is feeding that part of me? But people don't take the time to do that. They don't have these conversations, because within the stillness of life is where all the answers are lying. But we live in noise. We live in constant noise. And I listened to this podcast recently where the guy said what Steve Jobs did was reduce noise. Reduce noise. Anything that's taking you away from your goal, reduce noise.
Did
right?
you watch is that the Stephen
Steve
Bartlett
one.
and the
Yeah.
Kevin
O'Leary?
O'Leary? Yeah, I literally just watched that yesterday.
Reduce noise.
Yeah.
Right. And I was doing that instinctively, like what's taking me away from my goal? But he put it in such a great way. And I was like, that's so true. Like reduce the noise. But it's the idea of stillness and talking to yourself. And I was forced to do this because of what happened to me in my life. And then I started going really deep and understanding soul and purpose. And so I've probably gone down a much deeper route than some people would go.
Yeah.
But I feel so aligned because everything that I'm doing now, people are naturally saying, Naroop, you're amazing at that. You're natural at that. And it feels good. I enjoy it. Right. That's when you know that you're living your purpose, because you're enjoying it. You want to get out of bed. You don't want to stop doing the thing. If someone says to you, don't do that anymore, you'd be like, well, I want to do it. I don't want to go and go for a beer. I want to just carry on doing this. That's when you know you're aligned. When they say when you wake up on a Monday morning, if you're raring to go, that's when you know you're living the life that you're meant to live. And for me, it's, oh, I love it. I love what I do so much. If someone said to me, stop working, it's not that I'm a workaholic. It's just that I feel there's such purpose and it's creative. But I think when you can break it down, that's when you know what you're really meant to be doing.
When it comes to, let's play devil's advocate here, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm someone that wants to do more. I'm not satisfied in the career I'm in. I'm not satisfied with the work that I'm producing or the outcomes that I'm experiencing. But thinking big is not for me. It's not for the common person.
And it's not for everyone. It isn't.
I was just about to say, what do you say to that person who's not happy, who is confused about where to go, has no idea where to begin? Like, having these conversations with yourself sounds like such a alien concept.
Yeah.
What can that person do to get started? Because the chances are that person's probably listening to this has some level of awareness of the fact that they're not happy with where they are. That's why they're listening to this in the first place, but has no idea where to even begin, doesn't even know what that first small step could look like, practically doesn't understand what that initial conversation to yourself could look like. What does that person need to do?
I think firstly is to understand what part of the world, or what would they really want to do that would really make them happy? Where would they want to live? Right? What kind of work would they want to do? What would a dream existence look like for them? Not everybody wants to build a global organization and change the way, men see mental health, like what I'm doing, right? No. For some people, it's just a career change. I would rather work in a charity organization, or I would love to go and help people learn to swim with dolphins, right? They have to understand, what is it that would really make me happy? Then they need to start to explore, how could I make a change and start doing something like that? Maybe I could do something volunteer based on a weekend. That might be enough, that they're just getting a break from what they're doing to bring them happiness. I think it's understanding what they feel that would fulfill them, not only financially in their wallet, but in their heart, in terms of purpose and giving. And majority of people are not meant to build global organizations and be entrepreneurs and take risk. It's not common. It's uncommon. That's why so few people are millionaires, billionaires, or founders. It's you going against the norm, right? But I don't think a lot of people take enough time to even start to explore it because they believe and they're so satisfied with just having a paycheck that they don't want to risk losing it. And I totally understand that because they've got families, they've got people that depend on them, they've got a mortgage, they can't take massive risk, but they can start to get a little taste or start to feed that part of their life, maybe on the weekends or after work or doing voluntary work, or maybe they could cut their hours down and try to do 2 jobs just so they can feed, their curiosity a little bit. But firstly, they need to understand what it is, or even within their own job, they could shift department or do something different. But until you don't know what it is, they won't have the answer because then they don't know anything else. So maybe seek inspiration, maybe go and look online and see what other people are doing that may be in an area that you like. A lot of people like pets. They might want to work with animals, right? Or they might want to work outdoors. So I think it's about exploring it. People don't explore.
I so agree with that, because also the things that you've done in your past, in some way or form, may be directly relevant to the things that you're going to explore moving forward.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't feel like it in that moment in time, there is likely going to be at some point in the future where you look back on a decision that you're making or an opportunity that you're getting yourself into and you go, oh wow, like if I hadn't have done that thing like 7 years ago, there's no way I think I would have been prepared for what's happening today. I mean, perfect example, we were talking about this before we started recording. I'm a partner at Strive. Strive is a accountancy and professional services consultancy firm out in Dubai, right? I did accounting and finance as a degree, God knows how long ago now, a long time ago. Okay. And I finished that degree going, I don't want to be an accountant. And then took a completely different trajectory of career choices, opportunities that I explored, everything, all to now come back to part owning an accountancy and consultancy firm, which is such, if you'd asked me this when I'd finished my degree, if this is where I thought I was going to be, I'd have told you dead straight in the eyes, no way in hell.
Yeah.
And yet here we are.
Yeah.
So the more anyone listening to this, the more you can explore and have fun with the things that you're exploring, maybe not take them so seriously, outside of what your base necessity and requirements are, the more likely you will find the thing that you are passionate about, that makes you happy and that gives you that sense of fulfillment and purpose. Would you agree?
It's fear, man. It's a fear of the unknown. And so many people are scared of what they don't know. Right. And I think everybody naturally has a barometer inside them of like risk and fear. How far am I willing to go before I turn around and say, no, I can't go any further. Some people just won't have it. And it's not their fault because they're looking at their parents. Their parents have said, don't take risks, get a good job. And a lot of this gets passed down. My dad was an entrepreneur, right? The biggest dreamer. My grandfather, who set up the company my dad worked for, entrepreneur. I've been around people. My brother chases dreams. The men in my life have always been ambitious and gone for it. And that's what I've known, right? But that came from a very young age. I never felt anyone could tell me what my self-worth is. How can you tell me I'm worth £60,000? So you're going to tell me that I'm going to keep coming to this place every day and you're going to pay me the same amount every single year. And I have to base my hopes and aspirations on what you think I'm worth. That doesn't make no sense to me.
That's going in the trailer.
Never. From a young age, I was like, no way. We've got one shot. And this is what blows my mind. And I don't mean to sound dumb or stupid when I say it, but we have one shot. We've got one life from what we know, right? Are you really going to just let someone else tell you what to do? Are you really not going to say, no, I'm not saying being reckless, but at least try. Who says to you that you can only work 9 to 5? What happens between 5 to 10? Who said you've got to watch football and go and sit in a pub? Who said that weekends are for chilling and relaxing? Go and do something. The only thing you owe something to are your kids. You bring children to this world, you better be a good parent. Give them the time. But when they're asleep, you might have to have 4 hours sleep that night because you're working on your dream. Put your kids first. treat them well, give them what they need, but the rest of it, you can sacrifice and be selfless and do what you need to do for your dream, for your passion. But people want comfort, man. It's easy just like to sit there and watch a movie, put Netflix on. I'm baffled, even when all my friends are football fans. And they're like, Naroop, why don't you like football? And I'm like, why am I going to cheer for someone else's success when I can work on my own? Why am I passionate about another guy earning millions a month when I can build businesses that will earn me millions a month? Like, it makes no sense. I'm not going to give my energy, my time, and attention to something I cannot control. Yeah, you can watch football for the love of it, and I do that during a World Cup. And the Euros, great. We'll all be together. We'll socialize, have fun. But weekly, to commit 6, 7, 8, 10 hours to watch another team, dude, I could do how much I can achieve in that time, right? So I just value myself too much, not in a selfish way, in a way of service. I've got so much I want to give people that requires me to work and build and scale my thoughts, my vision, what I'm trying to do.
Well, this comes perfectly to the point of what you are following in terms of your dream, your purpose,
Yeah.
and your vision. And I believe that everything starts with a vision.
Yeah.
So let's go on to the Dad Project.
Yeah.
Where did the vision for the Dad Project come from?
Yeah.
And what is the purpose of it for
Yeah.
those listening that have no idea?
Yeah.
And what is the vision for it moving forward?
Dad Project came out of a place of need and a place of pain as well, I would say. So when I found myself being a single dad, right, I was looking for like resources online that could make me understand this new world. Okay, so I'm not now going to be in a relationship, right? I'm going to have an ex-wife, and I've got this now. She was 6 years old, and my daughter, the 6-year-old child that I'm going to have 50% of the time. I want to give this child the best life I can give, right? I was already dealing with a huge amount of, I would say, guilt, maybe, that the marriage didn't work out. That she was now going to be another statistic of being a child from a separated home, right? That for me was horrible to face and to think, but I was determined to give her the best life. Looked online for resources, couldn't find anything, right? Nothing. Like, I wanted a meetup group, right? Where like single dads could come together and talk about, what I need to know and what I need to learn. Hope. I want to see someone who was at the finish line when I was still in the starting blocks, right? Okay, this is how he did it. I couldn't find that. And so I had to work through all the challenges and experiences, like I'd mentioned before, like digging deep, right? Digging deep, came out the other end, realized that, okay, everything I needed was in here. I was seeking it out there, but it was in here. I want to share what's in here with everybody else. Okay. And so I started a project, bearing in mind I used to be a photographer and filmmaker. I want to do a project where I want to highlight 8 single fathers, okay, who are inspiring, who are really creating, leading the way for other men. And so I photographed them, and it's really meant to be about the portraits, right? These really nice photographs of these men, heroic portraits. And I filmed these supplementary interviews alongside it, half an hour, right? I was going to condense them to like 5-6 minutes. Started sharing the content, and people really started resonating with it. And so there was a guy called Nimish who messaged me saying, dude, what are you doing like with all the video content? And I had put out like maybe 2 videos. And I was like, they're just going to be clips on Instagram, but the portraits is what's really important. He goes, nah, this should be a podcast. I said, what? I didn't film them as a podcast. He goes, dude, they're so authentic and real. They should be a podcast. So we put out the first 8 episodes with the first 8 episodes of the podcast. They were never meant to be, right? But they told really true, genuine stories. So then I realized I can now create the Dad Project, instead of being a series of portraits, into a podcast, right? And so we started doing more and more episodes. As we scaled and grew, I started to realize that this is so much more than just a podcast. I can create an organization, because men were now looking at me as a role model, right? To try to teach and help them. Women were getting a better understanding of their partners, of husbands. It was growing organically into something much bigger than I thought it would ever become. I started becoming known as this man who's trying to disrupt the way men's mental health is seen. And so from that, I had the idea of scaling it into not just a podcast, but into meetup groups, into an app, into centers, right? A whole infrastructure community around men's mental health, supporting men on the journey of fatherhood, supporting men to try to overcome adversity and difficulty, women getting a better understanding of men, right? And helping women through difficult times. So it really has grown into something much bigger than I ever thought it could be. But it started from my own need. You know, when they say, when you haven't got the product that you're looking for, you create it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did.
Everything that you're speaking about comes back to this idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the sense that I get, that it's about how you as an individual can love yourself more. Because the more you love yourself, the more you can give out to the rest of the world. How does someone even begin to start to open themselves up to that idea and showing themselves more of that love internally?
Well, let me use this analogy, right? So let's say you're holding a cup of coffee
Mhm.
in your hand and someone bumps into you and your coffee spills on you. If I said to you, why did he spill that coffee? You would say,
You push me.
because that person bumped into me, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't because of that. It's because you had coffee in your cup. If you didn't have coffee in your cup, nothing would have spilled. That could have been tea. That could have been juice. Whatever's in your cup will spill. And that is how I see life. When life bumps into you, what you then give out is based upon what's inside your own cup, emotionally, in your mind, in your heart. So if you have pain, if you have hatred, if you have negative feelings, everything you give out, when life hits you, when circumstances come your way, you're going to give that out to other people. So what needs to be in that cup? Love, happiness, joy, gratitude, service. So you have to fill your cup up with those things that no one can give you that. You can't go anywhere for it. It's a mindset. It's a thought pattern. It's a way of viewing the world that, oh my God, my sink's full of dishes. All the people come over, they've left their dishes there. Or you could say, I'm so grateful that I've had so many people in my life to come to my house, that I've got so many dishes to wash. Because I guarantee you, if you had 20 dishes or you just had one dish, because no one ever came to your house, you'd be happier with the 20 dishes. So how do you reframe life? How do you start to understand that we should be grateful for everything that we have? Because guess what? It could always be worse, right? Then your cup starts to be full of love, gratitude. And remind yourself of that. I've got signs all over my house. You become what you think. Be grateful, right? And you start to understand that anything and any moment could be taken in two ways, a positive or a negative. It's all about how you see it. Am I learning from this moment? Or am I going to be angry? And that comes down to what I said in the beginning, that you're always where you're meant to be. The universe and the world is always trying to teach you something. So when something happens, your flight gets cancelled, you didn't manage to buy the tickets to the concert that you wanted to go to. I was never meant to go there. I was never meant to catch that flight. It was never meant to be. All of a sudden, you release this sense of expectations and the anger and understand that the universe and the world isn't trying to pin you down or push you away or beat you up. Is doing something in your favor, is working for you. You release resentment and anger and you start to be grateful for what is happening. Okay, so I wasn't meant to get those tickets to that concert. Maybe something else is going to come my way. And you realize that actually, if I'd gone to that concert, that wouldn't have happened. And that's actually what I really wanted, right? It's a way of just understanding and making sense of the actions and what life is presenting to you daily.
There's a lot of what you said which I resonate with a lot. And yet there is a lot out there on social media. You see it on TikTok, you see it on Instagram, you see it everywhere, around masculinity
Mm,
and what masculinity should be.
mm.
And even what you're saying just now doesn't seem to fit with the idea of what masculinity should be. So how do those two worlds marry up in your head? And what is your definition of masculinity, or what masculinity is when it's embodied well within a man?
I think it comes down to self-awareness, right? I think you should understand who you are as a person. What are your values? Okay. Masculinity doesn't mean, I've got big muscles, right? I can, go and build a shed, and I can do the barbecue. I can do this. I can do that. I put out the rubbish. That's not masculinity. Masculinity, I think, is as a man and as a father, is there is strength. There's emotional strength. You can lead, your family. Your partner will look for you for strength when times are difficult. Okay, that you can steady her or whoever you're with through difficult times, because you have the strength, emotional strength, to do that. There is, I believe, a sense of physical strength too, that you feel like you can do certain things that a man would normally do. You're healthy enough to play with your kids, right? You're healthy enough to lift something up because you've got the strength, and your children and your partner would look on you to do that. Lift it, get those bags, lift it up, right? So you're taking care of yourself because your family relies on you. I think that's masculinity too, that you can be a role model and show what it means. You open that door, you carry the bags, you do certain things which are important, right? Masculinity doesn't mean that you shy away from sharing emotions. I actually think, and my friend said it to me on the phone the other day, Naroop, what you're showing is that real strength is being open about your feelings. It's talking to your partner or your children and saying, look, tell me how you feel, right? I've got a daughter, I'm a single dad. My daughter's going through changes in her life. She's 10 years old now. She's starting to want to not tell me certain things because she'd rather tell her mum. I sat there and said, look, Lara, you can tell me anything you want to tell me. I'll respect your boundaries, but there's nothing you can't tell me, nothing that I will be shy about, nothing you need to feel shy about. Okay. That's masculinity, being open, being vulnerable, presenting yourself in a way that your children know that they can come and talk to you about everything. A father should never be someone who you can't open up with, right? That's what I think masculinity is too. And I think we've lost that, because also I find men don't know who they need to be. They are so unsure that they second guess themselves. But if you can understand your purpose, your values, what you feel is right to you, you can present yourself the most positive way. But also, and one thing that's not talked about enough about masculinity is kindness. I think a man should be kind. They should understand what it means to be understanding of their partner's emotions, understand the language of your partner when she's expressing how she feels. What's she really trying to say? Am I listening to her, or am I just pushing her away? Have I got boundaries where I need to have in my life? Do I make her feel so safe? Attraction isn't just making sure you're the most good looking person and you wear the best clothes. It's creating a safe space for her to be in her most feminine form. So she can be vulnerable with you, and she can lean on you, and she can ask for your support. These, for me, are the factors that define masculinity.
Why do you think men are so, I'm not going to generalize this for all men, but the majority that struggle with that definition of masculinity and being open, being vulnerable? Why do you think we are struggling with that so much?
Well, who's our role models? Our fathers, a lot of the time, don't even know themselves. There's generational trauma, right? So how your parents treat you, unless you break it, you'll probably learn off them, whether you want to be like them or not. You'll see certain things, and that will subconsciously become your actions. You become your parents sometimes, whether you want to or not, until you get to the point you say, no, I am going to change this. I'm going to break this generational trauma that keeps coming down and down and down. I don't want to do that. I'm going to have to relearn how I view the world. What happens a lot of time when you're being raised is your parents will still treat you like a child. You could be 35 years old and like, Dad, don't treat me like a child. He is no longer understanding that you are now a man, and that the way you view the world based on your experiences and what you've seen is different than he sees the world. He now has to respect you and say, you know what, he's a man now. Maybe I can see the world through his eyes, and I get a better understanding of who he is. So if you've got bad relationship with your parents, it can mean you treat your children wrong. So we haven't got a lot of time positive male role models. Now we're starting to see some come up, but those videos don't go viral. Like you're saying about being kind to your partner, kind to your kids, showing up, they don't go viral. I've seen videos of guys in the gym, and they they project such a disgusting sense of what a man should be. I put up videos on my Instagram of me in the gym, not because I want to show people how big my muscles are, but I show how important is physical strength and physical and a strong body leads to a strong mind and a strong mindset, discipline, right, dedication. That's what I do. I don't put up videos which can. I saw a video where a guy was. It played a video of another man dancing, and he was probably a gay guy dancing, and then it cuts to the guy in the gym, and he's massive. He goes, "Don't be gay, be in the gym." Right? What are you trying to say? Like, for me, that's just, it's just going to attract people. It's going to go viral, but it's very negative. You can show someone in the gym and say it's really good to train. You know, a healthy body equals a healthy mind. I put up a video which said, treat your body with respect. It's the only home you'll ever have. Right? That is reaffirming positivity, but still saying you should probably train and work out because you need it for your own self, but your family need you to be healthy and strong. And if you stay healthy and strong, you probably live a little bit longer, right? And you'll get to live in this wonderful world a little bit longer and you'll be happy. Right? There's ways to do it. I try to do it in a way that's inspiring. Other people do it in other ways, which attracts attention and goes viral. But I'm not looking to go viral. I'm looking to go eternal. I'm building legacy. I want my stuff to last, right? Not be here for like a week. I want it to be played in 20, 30, 40 years. And so that's how I approach it. And that's what I think. There's not enough positive male role models. That's what the Dad Project is about. Positive male role models. Everybody needs that dad who was their role model. Men from, young men, adolescents, to men in their 60s who are mistreated, who now treat their children badly because they were never shown what a good dad is. That is what the Dad Project does.
It is incredible the work that you're doing, because I saw something on social media the other day where there's a guy in the States with his son, and his son must have been about 8, somewhere between 8 and 10 years old, and he was pushing him to train a certain way, and obviously he's tiny, he's 8 to 10 years old, and whenever he couldn't keep up to what the dad's expectations were, he was beaten for it, and then pushed so hard that he died, which is crazy to even think about. And I mean, I was watching it, and as a new dad myself, I was looking at that going, I could never do that to my son. Like, how does someone feel like that's the way to be? And then you kind of go into the realm of empathy almost as well, to go, well, what did the dad have to go through in his life for him to think that that was the way that his son needed to be treated in order to be accepted?
It's because of his failures, the father's failures. If the father doesn't achieve what he wants to, he'll force a child to live out his dreams. It's
That's
true.
a deep concept.
But it's true. Because now you're like, I couldn't do it, but I'll make you do it. It's easier to get someone else to do it. It's easy to cane or beat a child to do the thing that you couldn't do yourself. I think about this with my daughter, right? I went to private school. And this is deep. And I think about this every day. I went to private school. She may not go to private school. The fees now are triple, quadruple what I had to pay, what my parents had to pay. Could I afford that all for myself, for our own life? I'll try my best. But if she doesn't pass the exams, I've tried my best to do it. I have to live with the fact that she may not have the same quality of education that I did. But I'll try my best. I'm not going to punish her for it. She's now revising for 11 plus exams. I do tuition with her myself, extra tuition. I say to her, do your best. If you don't get into grammar school, it's okay. Do your best. I'm not going to make you live up to my expectations. I want you to be happy. She's beautiful and amazing in her own way. She dances and she sings. Her voice she should be a singer. It's unbelievable how well she sings. But she doesn't want to go to singing classes. Okay. She's amazing at gymnastics. Amazing. She stopped. Dad, I just don't enjoy it. It makes me feel sad. All right, baby, don't worry. It's okay. I'm not going to force you to do something just because I feel it's right. She has one shot at this life too. I want her natural abilities to flourish. I'll just water whatever I see is growing, as long as she is enjoying it. And I see that too. I see how other parents force their kids to do stuff and it's not right. And fathers have to be very careful, especially with sons. Let them be, let them enjoy, that time. They don't care about anything else that you do apart from showing them love. And you've got a boy, right? So raising a daughter and raising a son is two different things. You have to be very careful that you're assessing yourself as a father through every stage of his life. How am I showing up as his dad? What am I doing? Am I growing? Because your job as a dad never ends. You're not going to be the same dad you are now to him when he's 40.
Yeah.
And you better make sure that you change as a dad and you show up as the best dad to him. And you look at him and think, he's a man now and he's changed. And this is how he views the world. He might do many, many things that you don't believe are right. So you're not your job to tell them whether they're right or wrong. They're his life. He's got every right to make a choice for himself. You can guide him, yes, unless it's life-threatening and he's, doing something is going to cause him terminal harm. Jump in, do whatever you need to do. But if he chooses a different career path, if he chooses to do something else, if he says, I don't want to have kids, I don't want to get married, you can't force him to do that. So it's assessing how we treat our children and making sure they are living a happy life, as long as you know that they are not causing themselves serious harm or other people harm. Let them navigate this stuff. Even religion. I'm not going to tell my daughter that she has to be a certain religion.
Yeah.
No way. My whole idea on religion has changed totally from when I was young. My mum says about me all the time, you're not this, you're not that. I'm like, if you think it makes me a good Sikh because I've got to do this, that, and the other, then that's not what I believe in. I believe in the universe. I believe in a oneness. I believe that fundamentally any teachers or gurus or God would just want us to be good people. Kindness, love, helping others, of service. I live that life, right? And so my daughter can find her own path.
There's something that you said there which I'm super curious about your take on. So I completely agree with you in terms of if your child is doing something and they turn around and they go, I'm not happy, I'm not enjoying this anymore, you're not going to force them to continue. Where do you draw the line between I'm trying to phrase this very carefully. I don't want to say letting them give up, but effectively allowing them to drop that thing that they're no longer enjoying or finding boring or whatever, and instilling the mindset of discipline
And dedication. Yeah.
Because nothing in life stays exciting forever. Excitement is just an emotion. So is happiness, so is love, they're all emotions. And emotions can change based on circumstances, and emotions can change based on outside external events. Your emotion can change almost immediately if someone cuts up in front of you in a traffic jam. So how do you draw the line?
Okay, I've got an answer.
Between that.
I've got to answer this. So many parents try to pack out their children's diaries with extracurricular activities because they think it's right. That child has no space to be bored. Boredom is a good thing. What do I really want to do? You have to create space in your child's life for them to think. How many painters, scientists, inventors have we heard stories of that their parents wanted them to do one thing, they didn't want to do it, their parents got angry at them, they did something else, and now they created the most beautiful pieces of work. They invented amazing machines because they were allowed and they found their path themselves. If you was to say to your kid, you should do gymnastics and karate and piano lessons, and if you give up, you're not dedicated, you're not disciplined. If they hate those things, and yet they live that life now where they are a piano teacher, and forever they hate what they've done, they could have been the world's most famous inventor. They could have set up businesses in areas that naturally they gravitated towards, but you blocked it because you thought discipline and dedication meant they should follow what you think is right for them. There's certain things that with Lara, she wanted to stop doing gymnastics. And she was still had just started her tuition in 11 plus. She didn't enjoy her tuition, right? Tuition for me was a non-negotiable. I said, Lara, look, you can stop gymnastics, but tuition You can never say to me, you want to stop it. That is a non-negotiable. Do you understand the deal we're making here? She said yes. And she's never said anything about tuition. Not once does she say, oh, no, I don't want to do it. She's understood dedication, discipline is a non-negotiable. I made a deal with Dada. This is the deal. So there's certain things you can do that with. There's other stuff. I want her to explore stuff. You know, who knows what's right and what's wrong for her? There's other ways to instill discipline, dedication, tidying your room up, making sure you do what you say, eating healthy, other stuff is not only about piano lessons, gymnastics, karate, and swimming lessons. There's much more to life. And I want her to flourish. I wouldn't have done what I did in my life now and I'm doing if my parents didn't support me and allow me to find my way through life. I went to private school my whole life. I should have been a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, something like that. I'm now running a content and strategy agency, a film production company, and setting up a men's mental health organization. Did they think I would do that? Did I think I would do that when I was 18, 20, 25, 30, 35? No. Even when I was 35, 9 years ago, I would not think I'm doing the 3 businesses I'm doing now. But I had support from my parents and belief. That is good parenting. And I say to them all the time, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You never questioned me. You supported me. But then I also didn't ever do anything too bad. Like I've never been arrested, never did drugs, never, so I've stayed on a good path. They've trusted my character.
But I guess that also comes down to parenting as well, right?
Yep.
And it's the environment you grow up in, it's the environment you feel safe in, and all of that kind of stuff. It goes back to what you said almost towards the beginning, which is that silence is where the answers
Yep.
are, and allowing not just kids, but even allowing yourself to be bored.
Yep.
Like how often, because I'm just thinking, as you've been saying all of that, I'm just thinking it's so true. And then also, when was the last time I allowed myself to be bored? And in all transparency, I don't like being bored. It's almost nicer to keep yourself occupied with things so you don't have to be bored. But the boredom or the silence, however you want to describe it, is where you actually get an opportunity to self-reflect for a lot of things.
Let me ask you a question.
Go on.
Who's your best friend?
I know what answer I should say.
Go on.
It should be yourself.
Yes, correct. But
it's external. It's like my wife will be the person that I speak to the most, and then I've got friends from school that I speak to on occasion, and consider them all to be best friends in some way or form for different things. But do I take the time to speak to myself the same way that I speak to them and discuss things with them? No.
Why not?
Exactly. Like that's the issue.
Because
And
you know what? In the stillness, what happens in stillness, you start to ask yourself questions that you don't want to answer because answering them are painful. Answering them makes you realize that I'm not meant to be on this path. Answering them makes you realize that you're not fulfilling your purpose. Answering them makes you dig and look so deep into your shadow, into your darkness, that you don't want to confront it. So what do? We just block it out.
yeah.
That's where addiction starts. That's where going on social media starts. Don't make the room silent, please, because that's when I'm going to start to ask myself questions. And I don't want to, because deep down inside, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I know what's right. I'm literally putting out a piece of content tomorrow which talks about being your own best friend. How many times do people say, I love myself? I say it openly. I love myself. I love who I am. I wouldn't want to be anyone else. You could have the world's richest person, Elon Musk, sat up opposite me, and I wouldn't trade my life for his, because I am meant to be living this life and no one else can do what I'm going to do. And I want to do it. I want to live it out because it's exciting for me. Right. But I also spend a lot of time with myself, even on the way here. No music, no podcasts, silence. Why? Because I've had a busy day. I've been editing, doing stuff. I've had so much input. I want to decompress. And I'm also coming on a podcast where I want to make sure what I say is true to who I am. And my brain has enough time to filter out the noise and give it space for a conversation that's going to happen now. But that's work, right? I do a mirror test. You look yourself in the mirror, say to yourself 10 times, I love you. I love you. People will feel so weird looking at yourself saying, I love you, They're like, nah, it's a bit weird. You got to do it. Be your own best friend, right? And in the stillness comes the answers. We look so much on the outside where all our truth is inside. And that's one of my biggest life lessons, that I trust myself. If you don't trust yourself, you're not your own best friends, how can you ever make decisions for anybody else? How do you know what's right for your kids and your partner and your parents if you don't trust yourself and you don't even know who you are? Like, your gut is, they say you have a gut instinct. It's not a gut, it's your energy. It's your aura. It's your vibration resonating against everything else in the world, telling you feedback. That is a wrong decision to make because I'm vibrating badly off that. It's not a gut, it's your vibration. I know and I trust myself so much, I'm not going to make that decision. 99 people could tell me to make that decision, but I'm going to make the decision and say, no, that's wrong. That is self-awareness. That's sitting in stillness. That's strength, right? And that's what's cultivated through talking to yourself, being your own best mate, being bored for a bit, asking yourself questions. It's fun. Go for a walk, chat to yourself. You know, everything we need is inside.
Yeah. And it is interesting that for the last 4.5 months since my son got here is when I've found excuses to not sit in silence as much. And I've got perfect excuses. I'm too busy. He needs something. My wife needs something. I need to be working on something, which is super interesting. So it's taken me right back to being just aware of the fact that I'm avoiding it.
Well, dude, you're starting on the most exciting chapter, being a dad. It's a great honor and a privilege, but great responsibility.
Mhm.
And you know, you should hold that responsibility and take it very seriously, like I know you are.
Yeah.
Because this child didn't ask to be here. You and your wife decided to bring this soul into the world. You owe that child until your last breath, right? And I might be a bit extreme in my views of fatherhood and parenting, but when you make that commitment to someone else, they will always look up to you no matter how old they are. And you always want to be that shining light. I know, just like how I see my dad, other friends that see their dad as their best mate and their role model. And it doesn't matter how old they are, they're guys in their mid 40s, late 40s, they would cry when they talk about how much they love their dad, right? That is such a beautiful feeling, that within that 45-year-old man, within that 50-year-old man, is still a child who needs to be loved in the same way, right? But the father doesn't know how to do it or doesn't do it. You know, I had my dad on my podcast. I cried the whole way through, so did he. He's got the most views out of anything, and he's not even on much on social media. He's got an account, but he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
The clips went viral, hundreds of thousands of views. And I'm talking to him saying, how often do you see a father and son have an open conversation? Right? It was a beautiful moment for me because that conversation is also recorded. So I can look back at that in 20 years when my father's, bless his soul, when he's gone. I can look back at it and think, I spoke with my dad. He answered questions that he probably wouldn't answer to me if we were in private because he had no choice. But this is the most beautiful thing because we really focused in on the bankruptcy of the company. I went home that day and he sat there. I said, Dad, how do you feel about the podcast? How do you feel? He said, dude, I never realized that I had 20 years of pain that I hadn't addressed. He's watched it probably 10 times. I'm like, Dad, why are you watching it so many times? He said, every time I watch it, I feel a little bit lighter.
Wow.
He's healing through the podcast, through the conversation. So how much power does it have where two people, and obviously I speak about men, will sit there openly. I could have a conversation with you off camera about your feelings and your emotions, and I guarantee you so much would come out that you haven't ever spoken to anybody about.
Yeah.
And how much lighter you would feel. Because I know, as a podcaster and a podcast host myself, the questions to ask, because I know how to dig deep, because I've done the work on myself.
Yeah.
And my goal in life is to allow everybody to dig that deep, because I know the happiness that comes through these conversations. But not everybody can do that, because I was given this ability and I was given the experiences. Life forced me to dig deep. Every time I thought I'd dug deep, no, Naroop, deeper. I dug a little bit deeper. Here, is this where I should be? No, deeper. Until I hit the bottom. Till I went to the darkest place. And I don't speak openly too much about the circumstances, right? The darkest place I could ever be. And it's like, yeah, that's the bottom. All right, now get back up there. So then I climbed up, and as I climbed up, I reflected and I looked at life and looking down. Oh yeah, that's why I did that. And every step up made me stronger, until now. I might not be at the top, but I'm in a good place where I can breathe fresh air and I can see greenery and light, and the world that I'm living in is regrown. And now I'm like, okay, everything I learned then, I'm going to share with the world, and I'm going to help men through all of my experiences. That's my purpose. That's how vividly I can explain it, because I've been through it. So now I want to take everybody on that journey. Let's go deep. Because if I can help you, man, I can help your kids. I can help your wife. I can help your parents. I can help your sister. I can help your brother. And I've seen it already happening through the feedback and the messages I get from women. You know, you've changed my life. I had mothers at school stop me. I listen to your podcast and I understand my father and I understand my husband. I understand my children so much better. You know, you're doing an amazing job. I understand your work is being noticed, is being seen. How do you think that makes me feel as a man who a few years ago wouldn't even go to the pickups because I was in so much pain?
Yeah.
You see, but you see what life can do for you when you work on yourself. That's the purpose of what I do.
Impact one person and you can impact every single person that they have a connection or impact with. And there's something that you said there that just resonates so deeply, especially now that I've become a dad and I've experienced what it's like to have a son and be responsible for someone as well. And that is, I owe my son everything because we chose to bring him into the world.
Yep.
He doesn't owe us shit.
Yep.
And that is it. The way that clicked a few months ago was just so powerful because it's now just become my new driver.
And no one could have made you feel that.
No chance.
Yeah, even if I tried to explain it, you would never understand
No.
that feeling, right?
No,
You
never.
had to experience it.
This is it. And only through the experience can you truly then understand what it means to be that level of responsible for someone else. And not just anybody else, but your own flesh and blood, which is still such a surreal experience. It still doesn't feel real. I sat down with my wife the other day and I looked over to her and I was just like, we have a 4-month-old. And she was like, yeah, he's been here for 4 months. How has that not sunk in for you yet? And it's so weird to say, but even now there's still moments where you go, holy shit, like I'm responsible for another human being. It's almost like you're just so not used to it. And now it's just there all the time.
I think men need to have children, man. You really need that responsibility. Otherwise, myself included, it's just easy. Just go and drink beer. Like, it's summer right now. You can have pints every day. Sit in a beer garden, right? Lovely. Like, the best feeling. Hot day, finish work, nice pint of beer, but you know you can't. You need to be at the gym or you need to be working. Or you got your kids.
Yeah.
You need to be home. Responsibility. Don't get hungover as much. You know, obviously go out and have a good time, but you can't do it every weekend.
Nah, it kicks in that level of responsibility / provider mentality to a level that I didn't even realize I had within myself. And I'm already naturally I'd say a driven person. I like achieving stuff, but this is just on another level. It's like on steroids.
Well, you know what? And it's good. You should feel that. I had a conversation with a woman the other day, and she was talking to me about my provider protector mindset and that I shouldn't have that mindset. And I was like, look, if I've got a family and I got my kids and I have a partner there and something's coming their way, is my duty as a man to throw myself in front of them. You take that away from me, what am I then meant to do? To stand there and let you get hurt? I'm the man. I created these children. You're my partner. I'm physically stronger than you, right? Because men are genetically wired like that, right? You think I'm not going to take that bullet or, you know, or let that car hit me first for you? You're telling me you're taking that responsibility, that role away from me. You're stripping back everything that my DNA and my ancestors have shown us and told us that we do that. If a lion comes in, you know, and we've got a group of us there, it's going to bite me. I'm chucking myself in front of the line.
Yeah.
I'm not letting my partner or my child go first. No, you can eat me. You guys, run away. Don't take away what I'm naturally geared to do. Then I lose purpose and I don't know my role and I get lost. Then I'm like, okay, well, she doesn't want me to do that. So should I just go to like the gambling place, or should I go to like hang with my mates, or should I go and sit? You waste away. But if you encourage and you respect and you understand that men and women have roles within a relationship, right? That they work harmoniously as one, and you respect and you honor that, that's a beautiful thing. Like one of my mentors wrote this book called Spike, which is about, strengths, positively identify, kickstart excellence, right? So instead of developing weaknesses, play to your strengths. What are you really good at? Male, female, bring it together. Instead of trying to develop weaknesses, let's stick to what we're naturally good at doing. Really make them amazing. And then just think what we could do for the family. Let's have roles. Let's know what we're meant to do. Let's make them clear. A marriage is like a business. You hold your end of the bargain, I do mine, and we're in profit, right? Everything's happy. When they start to blur, no one knows what they're doing, the factory is going to start not operating efficiently and we're going to go bankrupt. Marriage over. It's a business, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I see roles. And as your family, grows and your child gets older and you maybe have more kids, you understand that, your role is very important, because now it's not just you and your missus, it's the kid, and you're showing up for her and you're showing up for him, and she needs you. Whenever my mates have had kids, I might have said this to you last time, I said, make sure you take care of your partner, of your wife, because the kid doesn't need too much from you. She needs everything from you.
Yeah.
And I've said that to so many of my friends, and they've always said to me, Naroop, thank you for telling me that. Because as men, we just want to grab the kid. Oh, let me play with him, and just I think about the women all the time. I think, how amazing are women? Like, they create this being. So my cousin sisters have had kids recently. I'm like, how amazing is that? Did you created this being inside you? You didn't have to say, okay, today I'm going to start growing a leg. Let's grow the leg and now the toes. Your body does it.
Yeah.
And you're given this child. And that 9 months is hard. But now the mother's got to find the energy to feed, to breastfeed, to wake up, to nurture, to care. And the child naturally wants the mother more, right? It's from within inside the mother. She's got to go through all of this. And as men, what are we going to do? It's our job to sacrifice for the family now. You want to go to the gym? Well, guess what? You can't, because your partner needs you. Be that. And that woman will never, ever forget how much you supported her during that time. But she will always remember if you didn't.
Yeah.
And so you have to. So that's part of masculinity too. It's deep. It's very deep, but it's a privilege. It's a real privilege. I thrive on responsibility. Give me responsibility. Hold me accountable. I thrive in that environment. Some people don't. But I think that can be instilled, because when you see it and you understand the merits of it and what comes from it, the love you receive from your partner, the rewards of being disciplined physically. Discipline is freedom, as they say. You say discipline, and you've got the freedom to do everything that you want. These are the things about that I try to promote as a founder of the company. I base it on the values that I believe in, that I think can deliver positive outcomes.
No, this has been one hell of a deep conversation. I've loved every part of this.
Thank you, man.
And to finish off, I want to go through 3 questions.
Sure.
Okay. From everything that we've discussed so far, what do you think is the one skill that is essential for someone? I'm going to rephrase it, for a man to be successful in today's world.
I would say discipline. Discipline to yourself, to the family. Most importantly, discipline to yourself first. If you can't hold yourself accountable and you need someone to tell you what to do, you ain't going to be successful. If you don't think that you are deserving of the best, you're not going to be successful. That's discipline. Hold yourself up to such high standards that you will never compromise it for anybody.
Excellent. For the person listening to this that's thinking about or has initiated working towards their passion and their vision, what's your one piece of advice to help them along their journey, man or woman?
Consistency, right? You're never going to see the end result, right, quickly, but just keep going. Just show up, show up, show up. I had a therapist friend of mine message me the other day, really, really well-renowned, well-respected therapist, Naroop. Your work is brilliant and consistent. Well done. Not all of the content I get gets a huge amount of likes and shares. Sometimes it doesn't. Some really hit. Others are average. They're okay. Am I going to stop? No. How long am I in this game for? My life.
Yeah.
Right? Consistency. Because consistency shows that you are serious. And what helps when you're changing your path or you're coming out of a dark time is not reaching the goal, it's progress. If you're trying to change and follow a new path, seeing where you've come 6 months down the line will give you the encouragement to keep going. So when you go to the gym, right, you start seeing a bit of muscle. You're not going to see it straight away. But 6 months down the line, someone says to you, bruv, you're looking quite big, innit? You're not going to stop. Consistency. Now you've seen how far you come. You're not going back to where you were. You are point A. Now you're point F, G. I ain't going back to A because now everyone's seen how far I've come. You owe it to yourself to keep going. The last thing you want is someone to say, bruv, you've got a bit small now. What happened? Don't want to be there. So consistency.
And to finish off, what is the one positive message that you would like to share with everyone listening today?
Everything that you want is achievable as long as you know what you want. People don't always know what they want. But the minute you know what you want, you will get it. I think it's as simple as that. And I think it summarizes the whole conversation: self-awareness, understanding. And dude, I get such a buzz out of seeing people achieve what they're destined to achieve. I don't know why. I don't even know why. It's not like I'll get commission. But I just feel like God or the universe, my parents have given me this innate ability and care to want to help people. I don't know why I want to help. I don't know why. But I love it because if I can help see someone smile, especially men, because I find men suffer, right? Which is why I've got a men's mental health organization. I go home and I sleep so well. And I have friends who message me now who lean on me. I have friends who tell me other friends are now leaning on them. And they say, thank you, Naroop. You know, I just want to share it with you. Do you know how that feels to know that the ripple effect is this? And I think I actually do. I think fundamentally, if I strip it down, is for children. It's for the children. You know, I don't want to cry on your podcast, but I can so easily. But I love my daughter so much. And when there's children involved, nothing gets me more angry, and I rarely get angry than a father who's not showing up for their kids. It angers me to my core because I'm like, that child never asked to be here. You brought them in. You better do what you need to do for that kid. I would hate to think what would happen if I ever saw a kid getting beaten in public or being mistreated. I don't think I'd be able to hold myself back because children are so beautiful in every way. And I think part of it is also due to the fact that I always wanted to have more than one kid. And so part of my dad love and energy I give to other men. Like, so I don't know if I'll have any more kids, right? And so I think I see it as a bank of love. I have my bank of dad love was very massive from a young age. I think I've probably given I've probably got 70% left because I've given my daughter everything still, but I've still got a lot here. So what do I do with all this love? Who do I give it to now? Right? I can keep giving my daughter, but she's 10 now. She doesn't, want me to love her in the same way because she wants her independence. So now I'm holding the love back. which I want to give. So who do I give this love to now? I have to give it to others. I give it to my nieces and my nephews, but even then, they've got their own parents.
Mhm.
So I have to maintain boundaries and understand that, I'm the uncle, right? I can love them as an uncle does,
Yeah.
but not as a dad does. And so I think I give others the love that is still stored in there in the work that I do. And so fundamentally, I guess I answer my own question. I do it for children, man. I really, really do.
Naroop, thank you so much for taking the time,
Thank,
the vulnerability,
thank you.
and absolutely loved the conversation.
Thank you for having me, man, and for giving me the space. And you're doing amazing work. So I hope this conversation can help some people. I really, really do.
Definitely.
Cheers, man.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks.